Hello and welcome to Module 6 of this course, titled Grasscutter Health Management. In this particular module, we are going to be discussing Grasscutter Health Management. We're going to be discussing preventive hygiene. We're going to be discussing ailments, symptoms, treatments, and preventive measures to take. We're also going to be looking at deworming. How do you deworm your grass cutters? When do you deworm them? And what do you deworm them with? We are also going to be looking at the very first thing you should have in your farm when it comes to the health management of grass cutters, a first aid box. This is the very first thing you should have in your farm, so that whenever you have issues requiring first aid treatment, you can actually do that before you get a vet, or before a vet comes over to take over the case, the management of the case. But with the first aid box in your farm, you can be able to give first aid treatments before doing the major part. Without much further ado, let's proceed to the next slide. Excuse me. Preventive hygiene. What is preventive hygiene in grass cutter farming? Preventive hygiene is a system you use to take care of your grass cutters and avoid them getting sick or ill. If you are able to apply preventive hygiene on your grass cutters and grass cutter farm, you are going to actually increase your productivity in your farm. Here are some of the things you can do as part of a preventive hygiene plan. First and foremost, you need to inspect your animals visually every day. You need to observe them. You need to check them out and see, look out for open wounds. Look out for those ones that are exhibiting signs of weakness. You need to inspect your animals. That is why you should be able to at least afford to give your grass cutter farming business nothing less than 1 hour 30 minutes every day. That is to say, if you're intending to divide this into 3, that's 30 minutes per shift. It is important that you inspect your grass cutters visually, because when you do, you are going to be able to identify those that are sick, those that have been injured as a result of quarrels and squabbles in their cages. And when you do this on time by inspecting them visually, you can be able to save a lot of stress for yourself and for the animals. Ensure that you inspect your grasses before feeding. Irrespective of how clean or neat the environment you source your forage from, or your forage or agro byproducts from, please ensure that you actually go through the grasses before you feed your grass cutters with them. Most times you might not know, parasites might find a way to bypass your security when you're cutting the grasses and hide in those grasses, so that you won't know when you carry them into your farm. Thinking that they are safe, in the morning you simply give it to your grass cutters. They will digest it and wahala don't start for the farm. So ensure you inspect your grasses before feeding the animals at any time. Also feed your grass cutters adequate rations daily. I do not subscribe to those who feed their grass cutters once a day. The least I suggest you do is twice a day. That's 101. You feed them in the morning, enough to carry them all through the day to the evening. Let's assume you have a white collar job, or you're an entrepreneur who goes out in the morning and comes back in the evening. You feed them enough grasses in the morning, then you skip the afternoon meal. In the evening, they will have enough that will carry them through the day till the evening when you return. You spend 30 minutes visualizing them, inspecting them, and you feed them again, enough to carry them to the morning. Don't feed your animals once a day. Do 101. That is what I suggest you do. I also isolate sick animals always. That is the reason why you should inspect your animals visually every day, so that you can be able to identify those who have issues and challenges that need to be addressed immediately. Once you inspect and see, you isolate those sick animals immediately. You need to clean your cages at least thrice a week. If you can't do daily cleaning, I suggest you do thrice a week. You can do Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays or Fridays. Just find what works for you. Then also invite an animal scientist whenever necessary. Like I always tell people, make a vet a friend. You know, what we are basically, we are just businessmen who are dealing in the business of grass cutters. Apart from those who do grasscutter farming as a hobby, that's hobbyists, we are entrepreneurs and businessmen engaged in the business of grasscutter farming. That does not make us scientists in the animal kingdom. There are people who are designated animal scientists and vets who have taken time to study this particular body of knowledge. You need to make them friends. But there are certain things that can happen to you in your farm that you haven't even experienced. But a vet or an animal scientist might have experienced it. So you need to make one or two of them your friends and invite them to your farm once in a while so that they come around and see what you're doing. It's also a good way to market your business, you know. So ensure you invite an animal scientist or a vet over to your farm whenever necessary. Next slide. Okay. Lemon sugar solution. This is also part of preventive hygiene. All you need to do is to squeeze 4 lemons in 2 liters of water containing 8 cubes of sugar. To administer it, you need to give it to the animals as drinking water during periods of stress, after changes in season, environment, or feed. You move an animal from one place to the other. You need to, once the animal lands, even before you introduce it to the cage, ensure that you have provided lemon and sugar solution in its drinking water, so that once you insert the animal, you let the animal be. The animal can simply go and drink this solution made up of lemon and sugar, and it helps to reduce stress. If your animal, let's say we move from the rainy season to the dry season, and you start experiencing or observing certain signs and symptoms in your animals, that can be as a result of the change in the season. You simply provide them with lemon and sugar solution. If they change environment or they change feed, so some animals are moved from one location to the other. The farmer who moved these animals will actually give the receiver a model of how he or she or what he or she has been feeding these animals. The receiver will now go and start feeding the animal a new regimen, without knowing what the farmer was actually, the farmer owner was actually feeding them. The receiver didn't ask. The farmer didn't even care to tell. In these situations, there might be changes in the animals. We also observe that there are changes in these animals. Provide them with lemon and sugar solution. It also helps in those periods. Well, when an animal has a mild infection, also provide lemon and sugar solution, or when it is experiencing pain caused by wounds. So this is also part of preventive hygiene. Now let's talk about the ailments, symptoms, treatments, and preventive measures in grasscutter farming. What are the ailments that grasscutters are prone to? How do you know? What are the symptoms and the signs that you will see, and you say that this is this? What treatment do you give? How do you prevent them? This is what we'll be talking about in this slide and others to come. In this particular slide, we'll be talking about trauma, ailments coming from trauma. We're talking about respiratory ailments. We're talking about digestive or intestinal ailments or problems, so to say. We're also talking about skin problems and dental problems. Yes, we will be talking about 5 major ailments or problems that grasscutters are prone to. Trauma can be seen or found in things like, or can occur when things like wounds, fractures, and abscesses occur in your grasscutters. The respiratory problem can come up as a result of cough and pneumonia. Like I always tell people, one of the major challenges of grasscutters is cold, pneumonia. Then some will always ask me, so if you say that cold is their challenge or catching pneumonia is their problem, one of the major risks or challenges that they face, then what happens to those that live in the wild? And I tell them that in the wild, if you are opportune to see a hole where a grasscutter lives, you find out that there are certain materials that the grasscutter uses to package itself in that hole. You find things like foam, leaves, you find a lot of things that it uses to pad up that place. When we were young, when we hunt, we call this, when we were like trying to catch a hare in the bush, when we dig, we look to this point, we now say this is the panel. Yeah, there you see leaves, you see canal, you see a lot of things. In the wild, these animals are sophisticated. If you happen to interfere with their lifestyle in the wild and bring them home to breed them in captivity. You should actually provide them this comfort that they have provided for themselves in the wild. So pneumonia is one of the challenges, and it causes respiratory problems and ailments. So we're talking about this digestive and intestinal problems. This can be these signs include diarrhea, constipation, loss of appetite, eating but still becoming increasingly weak, and weight loss. Yeah, they lose weight when they have digestive and intestinal problems. For skin problems can be seen from loss of hair and scaly skin. I used to have a grass cutter back in the days. I think in one of those videos, if you go to my YouTube page, you see one of those videos. I think it's titled Grasscutter Farming Made Easy. The grass cutter I used to have, whenever the grass cutter is pregnant, whenever it gives birth, the grass cutter will start losing its hairs. These are skin problems. We're going to be talking about them here. Also, we're talking about dental problems, which signs and symptoms and include general lethargy, weakness and general weakness, loss of weight, and dental fractures. So let's hop in. Trauma. The symptoms. You can observe fractures from the animal's movement. Yes, when the animal is moving, you will observe that this animal actually, maybe the hind leg or the foreleg is actually limping on that particular leg or hand. You'll observe it's a sign, and this animal is going through trauma. To treat it, for light wounds affecting only hairs and skin, all you simply need to do is to get an antibiotic aerosol spray, like pedo spray or an antibiotic powder, and spray on that particular place. Any animal with deep wounds that affect its muscles, you need to isolate that animal. Get a vet. It is very necessary to get a vet when there is wounds that affect muscles in grass cutters. In situations where there is suturing, you need to give that animal anesthesia. Anesthetize the animal before you suture whatever part you are intending to suture. In the event of serious wounds like exposure of the viscera, slaughter is recommended. The viscera is the area around the belly that houses the internal organs of an animal. At any point in time that there are serious wounds exposing the viscera, Baba, Mama, kill that animal and sell it to, if you want to chocolate it, you can chocolate it, or you sell it to event planners and restaurateurs or individuals who also cherish Grasscutter delicacy. From us, we continue on the next slide. Treatment of fractures. To treat fractures in trauma, you need to isolate the animal and restrict their movement. First of all, get it out from where it is. If it is in the midst of other grass cutters, you need to isolate it first. Let it go to slaughter weight. If they eat, if they lose appetite, slaughter them. For animals that are fully grown, I suggest you slaughter it so that it won't end up eating more money in food and also taking more time in care. Simply slaughter it once they are table size and sell to consumers. To heal fractures, you might also need a vet, and employ the services of a vet, you have to calculate, do a cost-benefit analysis, the cost of keeping the animal and the benefits. If the cost outweigh the benefits, I suggest you slaughter. If the benefits outweigh the cost, I suggest you keep the animal and invest in a vet service. To treat abscesses, you can treat abscess. Abscesses may result from wounds or from influences like blood poisoning. In this particular case, hygiene is important to prevent it. To treat it, you need to incise them when they arrive. Use any new and sterilized sharp object to incise that abscess, then apply antiseptic on it once you're done. In the event of serious wounds, like exposure of the viscera, like I said earlier, you need to slaughter the animal. Because once the viscera for any animal, be it we humans, is exposed, the chances of that animal surviving is very low. Imagine where the part of your body that is housing your stomach is exposed, your intestine, everything is no. So once you experience that, please slaughter the animal. To prevent the trauma in grasscutters, you need to avoid overpopulation in the cages. One of the challenges farmers have is that they start a grasscutter farm without actually having a business plan. You are starting a grasscutter farm, you are starting with one colony, a male and 4 females, and you have a 2-decker cage. You should have it there in mind that when these 4 females take in and start producing, you will require more space. So you need to actually plan ahead of time. It is when you do not plan ahead of time that you will start to crowd your animals into a very small space. And a space that is supposed to house, let's say, 5 grasscutters. You will house 8, 9, 10. Those things result in fights. Remember, sexually matured males are not supposed to stay together. You know, these things cause fights. And in the occurrence of these fights, animals might sustain injuries that will create trauma in them. So avoid overpopulation. Plan yourself well at your business. Always constitute groups of animals of roughly the same weight. The same weight. It is very important. If you constitute animals that are not of the same size, oftentimes we tend to have issues of bullying. Yes, it happens even in social circles. When you constitute of a group of people who are not the same weight, you tend to have issues of bullying. You know, issues of oppression and suppression might occur. So ensure that animals that you're keeping together are of the same weight, except their colonies where the male is supposed to be bigger than the females. Apart from that, every other group of animals you are constituting should be of the same weight. Separate males from each other and from females when they are 4 months old. Once the males are 4 months old, please isolate them from the females because very soon these guys will become sexually mature. So we don't want them to be seeing any female grasscutter they are with as their siblings. We want them to have sexual urge whenever they see female grasscutters. So once they are from 4 months, please isolate them, separate them from females and from other females. Maintain a calm attitude whenever you're feeding or cleaning your cage. One thing I've come to understand about grasscutters is if you're feeding your grasscutters, or first let's start with your cleaning your cage. If you're cleaning your cage and your grasscutter is not yet docile, what will happen is the grasscutter will either be running away from you, and remember how it runs away from you. It hits itself blindly on the sides of the cages, thereby creating bruises on its nose. Yoruba they have a way, they have a proverb, the way they say that grasscutters commit suicide. So when you're cleaning and they begin to exhibit this kind of attitude, you need to be calm. You need to make them psychologically understand that you are not a threat. Because at that moment they are seeing you as a threat. We are one of the biggest predators of grasscutters. Of course. In the wild, man is one of the biggest predators. So that instinct is passed down from generation to generation. You know, grasscutters are wild animals. We are the ones interfering with nature by bringing them home to breed them in captivity. They are meant to be in the wild. So if that is the case, if you are feeding them or if you are cleaning their cage, so to say, you should actually exhibit a calm mindset, a calm attitude, so that they will always see that this guy is actually a threat. Try to bond with your grasscutters. When you feed them, try and feed them with corn or agro byproducts. Feed them so that they take it from your hand. By so doing, they take the scent, they take in your scent. If you feed them with a calm attitude. Emphasize in your character that you are actually a friend and not a foe. By so doing, they will also reciprocate in that same manner, thereby creating a equilibrium for both of you to thrive. You have a long-lasting relationship with your grasscutter, you know. So wherever you're feeding them, ensure that you maintain a calm attitude. It's very important. Be careful when handling a grasscutter to prevent it from getting fractured or losing its tail. I suggest if you do not know how to handle a grasscutter, please get expert training on it. You either handle grasscutters manually, that is with your hand, or with a net restrainer. If you can't handle them with your hand, please use a net restrainer so that you avoid breaking their legs or cutting their tails. Lifting by the tail may cause the animal to start to rotate rapidly to break its tail and escape, and that's what it will do. That's what happened to me when I first started a grasscutter farm. I remember that day vividly. That was when Oji and his wife came. The day they landed, I tried to introduce them to their cage. I introduced others. But But I grabbed Oji by the tail, Oji twisted. I was scared. In my fear, Oji cut his tail and abandoned. So Oji was known for not having a tail. Oji Ogoifi. A great guy. I miss that guy, Sha. So when you are be careful when handling them so that you don't cause fracture to the animal. It is very important. If you can't handle with your hand, handle with a net restrainer. Respiratory problems. What are the symptoms of respiratory problems? Cough, nasal discharge. I visited one of our members in Grasscutter Farmers Association of Nigeria at Ogun State, at Mowe. So when they took me on a tour to their farm, I saw one grasscutter that was having a nasal discharge. You start seeing mucus rolling down their nose. This is the respiratory problem that grasscutters face. Grasscutters also sneeze. If you observe grasscutters when they sneeze, they almost sneeze like humans. They sneeze too. Slow breathing is also a symptom of respiratory problem. And also diarrhea may be present as well when the animal is having slow breathing. Cough or aspiration pneumonia. Just a moment there. Cough or aspiration pneumonia may be caused by inhalation of dust from forage or feed. That is why we suggest that instead of feeding your grasscutters with these meshes produced for poultry, make your own homemade grasscutter feed. If you can't make your own homemade grasscutter feed, buy from farmers who sell. It's important that you feed them pelletized feeds. What grasscutters consume is pelletized feed. If you feed them meshes, they stand the risk of aspiration pneumonia. Bacterial pneumonia may result from exposure to cold and wind during the rainy season. A high concentration of ammonia gas emanating from the excrements may also cause respiratory problems. That is for those who actually do not clean their cages. And when you come to the collection pan, the height of the dung on the collection pan will be as high as when you are mixing two bread with like 3 akara inside of it. That is how it will look like. What you are actually doing is that the accumulation of the ammonia inside that place will simply travel into the body of your grasscutters. You will inhale it, and they're causing yourself issues. How do we treat respiratory problems? We can treat cough with sugar lemon solution, or by giving the animal small chips of ginger and garlic in its feeder. Bacterial pneumonia possibly requires antibiotic treatment. For example, you can use oxytetracycline or tylosin at the recommended dosage though. Put the affected animal into the isolation cage. How to prevent respiratory problems? To prevent respiratory problems, avoid dust both in the forage and in the feed and in the environment. Do not give spoiled or moldy feed to your animals. Moldy feed are feed that have spent a lot of time. You find them have growing mucus on them. Don't feed your animals those feeds. Ensure that the feed that you give to your animals is well protected, is preserved in a safe place. Cut and dry your forage to prevent the animals from ingesting insects, harmful plants, and worm eggs. Stable construction must permit fresh air circulation while avoiding cold, dust, and moisture from entering the stable. The stable may even have to be heated during cold nights with a kerosene lantern. Covering a stable or cages with polythene sheeting may be preferable to avoid noxious kerosene fumes. Prevent grasscutters from coming into direct contact with the polythene sheet to avoid suffocating them. Ensure that you clean out the cages regularly. Digestive and intestinal problems. Symptoms of digestive and intestinal problems include diarrhea, constipation, loss of appetite, eating but still becoming increasingly weak, loss of weight. The cause might be eating spoiled or moldy feed, a protozoa infection, coccidiosis, bacterial infections like E. coli, salmonella, or intestinal parasites, which includes worms, nematodes, worms will be suspected or seen in the feces. Feeding insufficiently dry grass is often the cause. Ensure that once in a while you check out the feces of your grasscutters to observe what is it. You know, there's a terminology that in computer we say garbage in, garbage out. So when they take in garbage and they pass out the garbage, observe their dungs for any signs of digestive or intestinal problems. You can find worms. If they have intestinal problems, you can find worms in the feces. If they're having diarrhea, and because you can see that the feces will be very watery, this shows that this animal is having diarrhea. If it's the feces needs to be very kind of strong, not all that strong, but by the feeling you know that this actually is a strong feces. To treat diarrhea, which can be caused by spoiled or moldy feed, you simply need to administer dried pawpaw seeds of unripe but mature pawpaw, carica papaya. Get an unripe carica papaya and get the seeds, dry it and feed the animals. You can also get that carica papaya that is not yet ripe, mature, unripe, sorry, it's not yet ripe. Wash it and cut it into bite sizes and fill it in their feeder for them. It also serves as a natural antibiotic. The same cure can be recommended for worm infections. It also helps in curing worm infections. Coccidiosis can be cured by applying coccidiostats containing amprolium and the recommended dosage. For prevention, you prevent tick infestation by drying and shaking forage before feeding it to grasscutters. That is why we said in preventive hygiene, ensure that you inspect the grasses before you feed them to your grasscutters. If you do not inspect those grasses, you might end up giving your grasscutters grasses that contain ticks or other parasites that they will ingest and cause them intestinal and digestive problems. Dental problems. Dental problems, some of the symptoms or the symptom of dental problems is that the affected animal does not actually eat. It lacks appetite. It grips feet and it drops the feed. The animal will be losing weight. The animal will be weak, very weak. Other symptoms can include dental fracture. You can just observe that this animal, look at that the dentation has a problem, and you can notice that very easily in such cases. To treat dental problems, grasscutter incisors, as you know, grow continuously and will overlap and cause wounds to the gums if not controlled. All you need to do is to introduce a hard object into the cage for the grasscutter to chew on. Hard objects like bones or stones are recommended because once their incisors grow without being controlled, my problem is the cause for them. One of the ways that they control that I have observed is that because I use this rod, 1mm rod, most times in my cages, the grasscutters will hold that 1mm rod and be gnawing on the 1mm rod. This is their own way. These animals are sophisticated now. This is their own way of controlling their incisors. Incisor filing may be necessary in severe cases. To treat fractures, if healing is considered possible, feed young forage, that very young forage, grasses. If you're feeding elephant grasses, don't feed the very matured one. Feed very young ones that are succulent. The same thing for elephant grasses. They provide also feed that is very moistened. Just spray a good amount of water on it, on the feed, so that it will be very moist. They wouldn't need to go through a lot of pain or process to break it down with their teeth. You can also serve them as a part of the moistened feeds like things like boiled cassava or potatoes. If the fracture is inside the gums, requiring a long period of regrowth, kill the animal, slaughter the animal. To prevent dental problems, ensure that your grasscutters are helped to control the growth of their incisors by giving them bone or stone to gnaw on from time to time. I also would like to use this opportunity to talk about a myth that has been peddled on the internet for some time, and that myth relates to grasscutters having not being supposed to The grasscutter are not supposed to be served sugarcane on a regular basis. No matter how regular in the sense that, let's say in a week you give them thrice or even twice, because as the meat goes, the sugar content of the sugarcane will actually cause them toothache. But funny enough, I've been feeding my daughters with quite a good number of sugarcane, but I've not been able to experience such thing. So try out for yourself and see whether grasscutters should be given served sugarcane and at when due, or should be served sparingly. Over to the next slide. Let's talk about deworming grasscutters. According to research, grasscutters have been found to be infected with certain worms. Therefore, it is important that they are dewormed appropriately. To deworm grasscutters, you need to deworm grasscutters with mebendazole. Get mebendazole and use it to deworm your grasscutters. You can also use piperazine to deworm your grasscutters. You deworm your grasscutters alternate month. That's you deworm this month. Okay, we are in the month of September. You deworm the month of September, you don't deworm the month of October. You deworm the month of November, you don't deworm the month of December. You deworm in the month of January, you don't deworm February, so on and so forth. That is deworming alternate month. Then to administer it 25 milligram in a drinking trough for 1 colony. That should serve for 1 colony. That is it on how to deworm your grasscutters. First aid box. The grasscutter farm's first aid box should always be the first line of defense in most situations. Pharmaceutical products that should be in the first aid box include betadine as a local antiseptic, antibiotic aerosol spray for wounds, mebendazole or piperazine against worms, broad spectrum antibiotic, for example, benocin in powder or injectable form, oxytetracycline 20% in powder or injectable form, dentine violet, that's our popular GV, you should have it too, cotton wool and scissors. So these are the things that you should have in your first aid box, because the moment we have, let's say we have an issue in the farm, your first line of defense should be your first aid box. Let's assume you have an animal that maybe you are coming to your farm like this, and you observe a male bullying another male. Maybe when they were cleaning their cage, they jumped down in the morning, 2 of them, not knowing that 2 of them are down, and you even forgot to put them and drop them back in the cage. And you fed them and you left, and you came back in the evening and found out that one bullied one and gave it a lot of injuries, bodily injuries. What do? You should first of all run to your first aid box, capture that animal, and use the antiseptic on the wound. Then apply gentle violet and let the animal be. You see? But without doing that, that wound now, if you don't have a GV, that wound now that you're going to leave to heal on its own, yes, it might heal. The animal body has the ability to heal itself, but it has a chance of incurring infection as an open wound. But if you have your first aid box and you have antiseptic and GV, you can avert that. So ensure that your farm has a first aid box. It is very, very important. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me in this Module 6. I hope this Module 6 on Grasscutter Health Management has been of value to you. Thank you, and see you in Module 7. Cheers.